the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing. This is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 things from this past week that made us go wow.
Wow.
I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined as ever by editor-in-chief of the Wow Report, James St. James.
Darling.
And very excited to welcome Alec Mapa, sitting in for Tom Campbell this week.
Hello, America. It's all for you, Damien.
It's always so wonderful to see your smiling face, my dear.
Likewise.
Yay.
I'm glad we were able to clear up all our technical issues.
Well, I was being a bit of a diva. I'm sorry. I've wasted all of our time.
What is,
before I start my tantrum again.
I was in Target the other day looking at toys and things, and there's a board game called You're on Mute. Because a year and a half into the pandemic and remote living, You're on Mute is now actually a board game for all the family.
You're on mute. So how do you play You're on Mute?
You know what? I don't know, because I thought I am not going to buy that piece of trash.
I think we need to do it and play it on the air one time.
I will
have a whole episode. You're on mute.
Yes, I will go buy the board game, and that's what we'll do. We'll just play You're on Mute.
Yeah, my pandemic game would be I'm wearing no pants.
I can't wait for the big reveal.
Mine is I haven't deodorized in 3 days.
Let's get into the countdown. Number 10. Alec, it's all about you. Tell us what's going on.
Number 10.
I have a movie that I made before the pandemic in Atlanta that has an all-star cast and is now streaming on Amazon called Queen Bees. And get this cast. It stars Ellen Burstyn.
Oh.
Anne Margaret.
Oh.
Jane Curtin.
Woo!
Loretta Devine.
Oh my God.
James Caan. Christopher Lloyd. French Stewart and me.
I love French Stewart. What a cast!
Yeah, and Ellen Burstyn is just absolutely wonderful. It's a love story that takes place in a senior care facility. I play Ellen Burstyn's masseuse and confidant, it's so good. I mean, it's something you could actually. Usually when I'm in something, I kind of skulk away. Like, you can watch it if you want to. Right. But this one I stand behind and in front of. It's really a lovely movie, and it's something you could watch with your parents.
Now, I know that Lisa has been working with Anne Margaret on the Kaminsky method, and she just has the best. She just gushes on and on and on about her. Did you have any interactions with her?
I rode in the transportation van with her every single day to and from the set. Amazing. She wore a turban. Going to the set and a full beat of makeup, just beautiful. And just making her laugh was I feel like this is the reason why I'm alive on the planet right now. It's just to make
amazing.
Margaret laugh. And then we talked about Bob Mackie costumes and all of her variety specials. Oh. And I said that when I was a little kid, I thought her name was actually Anne Margrock, because I knew her from the Flintstones first. The only thing she won't talk about is Elvis.
Okay, but that's fine. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to talk about other than Elvis.
I know, but just an incredible career. I mean, she has so many incredible performances. Like Tommy, I could watch her and Tommy over and over again.
Baked beans.
Exactly. Did you ask her about that scene? Were they real baked beans?
Yeah. Everything's real. Everything's real. Yeah,
and also Ellen Burstyn. I've met Ellen a few times, and she is really just has the best aura about her, and is just so calming, and everything about her is just fantastic.
Yeah. And I had drinks one night with Jane Curtin and French Stewart, and this is my Jane Curtin impression. She has ruined us. I can't do my sitcom acting with her. It doesn't make any sense.
It's funny because I've been watching Third Rock from the Sun again. It's on IFC every morning for like 10 episodes in a row. Her and French Stewart, just that whole cast is amazing.
Yeah, they're lovely. So watch it, enjoy. It's a really lovely, lovely movie.
That is awesome. That is Queen Bees. Not one Queen Bee, but Queen Bees. Multiple Queen Bees.
Yes, now streaming on Amazon.
Awesome. Okay, number 9, James.
Number 9.
This is called the Scarecrow Dilemma, and I want Blake to come in for this one as well because I have a question afterwards for all three of you. Okay. And it's a very important question. Now, there's a new podcast about the Wizard of Oz that's out that's getting a lot of press and a lot of buzz, and everyone's talking about it. And I haven't been paying attention to it. All sorts of things have been coming to light about the Wizard of Oz, some new information, and people are going bananas on Twitter about this. And one of the arguments that they've been having is this is absolutely fascinating, and I'm going to lay out the argument for you, and then you have to answer. Okay, when the wizard gives the Scarecrow the diploma, to give him his brains, the Scarecrow famously says the Pythagorean theorem, and famously says the sum of the square of any two sides of an isosceles triangle is equal to the square root of the third side. By Jove! But that's wrong. The real Pythagorean theorem is the real answer is that the square of the length of two sides of a right triangle is equal to the square of the length of the hypotenuse. Okay, so then the question becomes one of three things. Is it because did he get it wrong? Because A, this is Dorothy's dream, and she is a young farm girl from Kansas, and why would she know Euclidean geometry? Is it number two that he didn't really give him brains? The wizard didn't give him brains. It's been inside of him all along. So therefore, it's his mistake to make. And if you pull that thread very far, you get to free will versus fate, right? Okay. Or is the answer that it was a mistake made by the author, L. Frank Baum, and he didn't know, or a screenwriter somewhere along the way, and nobody bothered to fact check? Is it A, Dorothy's dream, B, the Scarecrow is his own person and it's his mistake to make, or was it L. Frank Baum? And I want to give it to Alec first.
L. Frank Baum didn't have anything to do with the screenplay. Okay, I mean, they were taking L. Frank Baum's story, which had been written at the turn of the century, right? And it was now being written with a 1939 philosophy and point of view, which is why Bert Lahr, everybody was from vaudeville. So it was kind of like if they were taking something from the 60s and turned it into a hip hop musical. It was like their version of Hamilton. Right. So they were speaking in an updated vernacular. I can't believe there's a whole podcast based on this, but I think it's just a screenwriter. I think it's lazy screenwriting. And I'm also amazed that it's taken since 1939 for anybody to catch this egregious error.
Famously did catch the scientists and everybody have been debating this for a while. But you're going, this is interesting because I didn't think that that's where you would go with this, Alec. I had everyone figured out, and I did not think that you would say that number 3. Fenton, what do you say?
Well, I want to know what you thought I would say, because it's much more interesting than what I would say.
Well, no, because everything I know about you depends on what you say. And everything I've ever thought about
I'm going to go with that complicated sounding one about free will, fate, destiny, what have you. B.
Oh, really?
Okay. That's very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, Blake?
Well, I'm torn. I actually really do think it's probably 3, like Alec said, but I can also see number 2. But I don't think it's number 1.
That would be
okay. I just looked it up on IMDb. There are 20 people who are accredited with writing the screenplay to The Wizard of Oz. Noel Langley, Florence Ryerson, Edgar Allan Wolfe, Noel Langley. It just goes on. Arthur Freed. I mean, everybody. It seems like everybody in Bert Lahr is credited with additional dialogue. Jack Haley played the Tin Man.
Someone would know the Pythagorean theory, even though when you just explained it, James, or I didn't recognize either of those.
Well, that's because I was stuttering, and if I said it properly, because I don't know the Pythagorean theory off the top of my head.
Or it could also be that was the best take that Ray Bolger had.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe he made a mistake and is like, listen, we all want to go to bed. Fuck it, nobody's gonna check this.
What do you think, James?
I think that it's Dorothy's dream, and why would Dorothy know the Pythagorean theorem? That to me is the one that makes the most sense. And I would have suspected Fenton, that you in your Fentonian usually you would say I've never seen The Wizard of Oz and just move on because you've never seen any classical movie that I ever bring up.
Oh, you got me. I mean, I had seen the whole thing, but
you've never. I knew it. You've never seen The Wizard of Oz, right?
I've seen more bits. I've seen more of it than less of it. You know,
I was right. Okay, I was right.
I've never met a homosexual who's never seen all of The Wizard of Oz.
You would be surprised at the movie. I've always said that I am going to have, as soon as this pandemic is over, I am having a movie night at Fenton's once a week in which we go through Sunset Boulevard.
I love that movie.
Exactly. Did you say Sunset Boulevard? Because we can cancel the rest of the show and just talk about Sunset Boulevard.
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
That is the movie.
But there have been, like, suddenly last summer, I imagine you have probably.
I love that. I love that movie.
Got my game card. I've seen that. Okay, come on. Have at me. What else?
Listen,
I will come up with a list, and it will be you and Nolan and Blake and Alec and I. And Tom can come over, and Tom and I will switch back and forth. Well,
perfect.
Tom, Alec, and I will be the ones.
Perfect.
Okay.
Anyway, okay.
All right.
Let's move along.
More to be revealed, I guess, because that is the endless text that just keeps on giving. Wizard of Oz.
Scarecrow Dilemma.
Number 8.
Number 8.
I was going to talk about The Green Knight because I thought this was a movie from A24. It's the pre-Arthurian roundtable story, and I bought a ticket to see it virtually. It streamed this week virtually. 20 minutes in.
Hold on, it stars Dev Patel, who is one of the handsomest men in
But
Hollywood.
20 minutes in, I just lost the will to live, and
really?
We'll just have to add it to a movie night screening. We'll just have to get together.
Wait a minute, are you an Arthurian person? I mean, do you like all of that?
I am, but I'm sorry, my movies just need to move a bit quicker and have a little bit more action. Like, for example, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Tell me everything about it. Was it great?
Oh my God. James knows and is a little bit tired of hearing about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and my admiration for it, which is boundless and bottomless. The last movie we talked about here, I think, was Black Widow, which I adored and thought was Marvel's best movie yet.
Haven't seen it.
Apart from Thor Ragnarok, which is the number one of all time.
Right.
This movie is amazing. It is incredible. And of course, it comes with some controversy, right? I think it was Bob Chapek, the CEO of Disney, said that it was an interesting experiment. He was referring to the way they're going to release it theatrically. They're doing a 45-day theatrical window before they stream it.
Which is what Scarlett Johansson wanted, which is why she's suing Disney.
Right, exactly. But unfortunately, the lead actor, Simu Liu, thought that he was referring to the fact that it's Asian characters and Asian superheroes. And so there was a bit of a kerfuffle there, saying we're not an experiment. We are the underdog. We are underestimated. We are the ceiling breakers. But you know what? It put me a little bit in mind of Crazy Rich Asians, which was such an enormous success. And for the life of me, it beats me why Asians have been excluded from the Hollywood experience, because this movie is so amazing. It is it is easily Marvel's best movie. I mean, Thor Ragnarok and that they're in a sort of neck and neck. And interestingly, it's one of the lesser well-known of the characters of their
I've never heard of her.
Of their worlds.
Yeah.
It was created in the mid-70s, funnily enough, at the height of the Kung Fu craze.
Bruce Lee.
Created by two white writers. So, it was a sort of IP created in a way that would be canceled today.
Sure.
But they've really gone back and sort of sensitively repurposed the whole myth and the whole storyline, I suppose, for today's times. But interestingly, he's a character. This goes back. This isn't completely new to the MCU. They're in the villain in Iron Man 1 who kidnaps Iron Man.
Is Ben Kingsley.
It's the Gang of the Ten Rings, which was led by a villain called Mandarin. And it turns out that Mandarin was a front for Shang-Chi's father, who is the mastermind with the Ten Rings. I'm mangling the story. These Marvel stories are so much plot. It's hard to kind of
convoluting, one might say.
It's never about the plot. It's about the color and the costumes and the big fight scenes. And if it's diverting enough, I took my kid to all the MCU movies when he was growing up, and I would literally just wait until somebody took their shirt off and they'd fall asleep. That's all I remember about the first Thor movie, was a Hemsworth brother taking off his shirt. And then I sacked out because I was so exhausted. But I do want to see Shang-Chi. Did you see Suicide Squad?
I have not seen Suicide
Squad.
Squad.
Loved it.
I know. Thank you. I've been trying to tell him to go see Suicide Squad. It is MCU. If you're an MCU person, it's DC for MCU fans.
Yeah, it's directed by the person who did Guardian of the Galaxy, and they just kind of said the premise is the first movie was shit. We're just doing a complete do-over, and also the reason to see it is there's a scene with John Cena in tidy whities for no reason. There's no reason, and he's just in tidy whities, and it's the reason to see the movie.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to get a lot of topless satisfaction out of this one, but it's Simu Liu and Awkwafina make such a great double act. They basically, in real life, they're car valet people in San Francisco before they get sucked into the MCU, and they're just so funny together and so lovely together. And I think what's really transformed both Marvel and DC is the use of A, of humor, and B, of sort of mixing real life in. So you end up with the sort of, these movies aren't purely escapism, they sort of resonate or are in parallel with some of the issues of the time. So Awkwafina's very much, an American raised Asian character who doesn't know her native language. And it's just really funny the way they play with that. They play with the whole ethnic identity and the identification politics of it all in a very funny way. In addition to some of the most jaw-dropping action sequences, of course, you ever saw in your life.
But that's the thing that when we were talking about the new series Kung Fu that has come out, and we were saying that after Crazy Rich Asians, that why does every single Asian movie have to be Kung Fu? Like, why can't there be just Crazy Rich Asians again? Why can't there?
No, I mean, there's a very simple answer for it. It's like Asian people aren't making the artistic decisions, the creative decisions. So, I mean, if there were Asian people running the studios, then there would be certainly more Asian stories. But I think that, we're discovering more international cinema all the time. I mean, if you watch Taiwanese films, there's that great movie on Netflix, that gay story, Your Name Engraved Herein.
Fantastic.
Beautiful.
Asian cinema is visually so sophisticated.
Yeah.
And also, I think in terms of storytelling and sort of emotional layers, just so much more than the Western narrative of... It's more nuanced.
I get disappointed that every time an Asian American movie comes out, it is always just
always Kung Fu. Yeah. But you know what? To your point, we're going on 20 years of superhero movies now, and I remember they came out shortly after 9/11, and I think that they're popular because as a whole, our culture, we feel so helpless against the environment, against political problems, and seeing a superhero save the day, seeing good triumph over evil. I mean, it's very comfort. It's comfort. It's comfort food. It's comfort food for all.
You're
of us.
so right. I mean, because
helpless.
I think in some ways we do think that superhero movies are somewhat childish or infantilizing because, they're a sort of a way of escaping the incredible complexities of the world we live in. But I think at the same time, what the MCU is doing is actually really engaging with the problems that we face. And they're sort of writing narratives that take that into account. So they're not pure escapism, which I think they tended to be more originally. I think they're much more knowing, much more cynical, much more sort of just engaged with the times in which we live.
Yes.
Which I think is a great thing. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings will be streaming, but actually it's not streaming, Blake. I'm sorry, it's
after
theatrically released September 3rd. So this is an early preview. It's really good.
Oh.
Hey, before we go to the break, I will just say Drag Race Philippines is coming.
Wow.
Casting has begun. DragRacePH.com. That's where you go. And when it arrives, it'll be on Wow Presents Plus exclusively. So very excited about that.
Can't wait.
You have to be in it. You have to
Absolutely. I'll sue if I'm not.
All right. We'll be right back.
Why the hell have I been doing these damn podcasts? I wasn't gonna be
I want to be a star in the Philippines.
We'll be right back after the break.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with James St. James and Alec.
Hi.
Hi.
Always great to be here.
Good to see you. All right, we're counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow this week. Number 7, Alec.
Number 7.
Oh, Mare of Easttown. Did you watch it?
Yes.
Okay, see, I resisted it forever because it just looked so dreary. I was like, ugh.
And it is.
And then Kate Winslet comes on, British Kate Winslet, and she does that weird Philly accent that's kind of like this, like it's almost like Baltimore, like a little bit like she says like cold, like all her O's are really strange, like. And then Jean Smart comes on, and she's on 3 different HBO shows right now, and she's completely different in every single one of them. In Watchmen, she's kind of like the sophisticated kind of like police detective. In this, she is an alcoholic grandma, and on Hacks. And she's amazing in each and every single part. So I watched one episode and I'm like, I'm really into this. It's so good. Did you see it?
Wait, you've only done one episode so far, right?
No, I watched the whole thing. I watched.
Oh, you did?
I couldn't wait to get through the entire thing. Yeah. I know what happens. I'm not going to do any spoilers. It's a murder mystery in some kind of crappy little steel town where the industry's gone and what's left are kind of down and out East Coast type Pennsylvania people.
Absolutely. We watched it and loved it. And we've talked about it a few times because we started off with Mare, and then it was all about Jean Smart in Mare. And then, of course, Hacks came along, and it's just, this is the home of Jean Smart Fan Appreciation Society.
Yes.
Like everything she does.
It's
funny, a Jean Smart Renaissance.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it was the Jean Smart Renaissance, and now we're having a Jennifer Coolidge Renaissance. So it is like everyone is getting their due finally after all these years, and it's it's wonderful to watch. You know, because I've been on a White Lotus kick. I don't know if you guys do White Lotus.
I'm not through the whole thing yet. I heard that
you haven't gotten
finale...
to the pooping scene. You haven't gotten to the pooping scene yet. No.
No, I haven't gotten to the pooping scene, but you had me at pooping scene. Anything to do with poop, I'm right there. Jennifer Coolidge in Swan Song gives a lovely, lovely performance. She's wonderful in it.
Is it outrageous to say that Jean Smart and Jennifer Coolidge are both very camp actors? Like, and I mean that in the finest terms. But they've been sort of marginalized, perhaps because they were seen as camp. And in fact, their genius is just. It's just weird that coincidentally they're both being so finally recognized.
They are both camp, and they do give many camp performances, but they're finally being able to show the layers that they are actual actresses and they're actual. You actually feel for them as opposed to just sort of giggling along with them. That like you see the poignancy and the depth of their characters, and they're just absolute geniuses.
Right, and it's the thing of like being an actor in Hollywood. If you're successful as a shoe, nobody wants to use you as a boot. You know, it's kind of they were both kind of rewarded for, I mean, Jean Smart in Designing Women, hilarious. Jennifer Coolidge in anything, hilarious. But you forget that they have the actual skills to pull off small moments, delicate moments. I mean, I don't know if you saw Swan Song with Udo Kier. You probably both have seen it.
I've been dying to see it. People were saying that possibly Udo is up for an Oscar this year because of it.
Gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. You got to see it.
Yeah. It's he's sort of like a Quentin Crispian type. He looks sort of like Quentin Crisp, and he's a hairdresser.
Yeah.
And he's doing one last gig before he passes on to the great beyond, right?
See, my theory here is that camp is not a marginal thing, and that camp has been marginalized and ignored, but camp is actually really, it's a weapon. It's a valid I'm sort of here to defend camp and sort of claim camp as genius rather than guilty pleasure.
Because
right?
you're queer. Because it's code. It's a language we understand and we speak, and we know the depth and complexity of it. We don't just see the beaded headdress and the feathers and the huge performance. We know the pathos behind it. We know the heart behind it. So I don't see camp as a pejorative at all.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
I mean, you're 50 years too late on this, as Susan Sontag has beat you.
Oh no, she was. You should reread that essay because she is wrong about camp, and it's actually a slightly phobic perspective on camp, and definitely a marginalization.
I think that's a whole different conversation.
Wow, that's a whole show.
We got into this yesterday with Camille Paglia versus Susan Sontag, and you were Team Camille the whole way, and I just rolled my eyes. Anyway, that's a whole.
All right, to be continued. Camp, it's going to be a Marvel Comic Universe movie, you know.
All right,
Sontag versus Paglia, right?
Oh wow.
All right, I'm going to go on to number 6. Actually, it's not me, it's James. Number 6.
Number 6.
You're always trying to just you're trying to get me out. I know you're trying to remove me. I am reading a new book called it's about the Duchess of Windsor, and it's called The American Duchess: The Real Wallis Simpson by Anna Pasternak. And the Duchess of Windsor, Wallis Simpson, is probably one of the most written about women of the 20th century. I have 2 rows behind me of Wallis Simpson books. She is famously the woman who had the affair with the prince with Prince Edward, and then she was the twice divorced American woman. And when he became King Edward VII, he gave up his throne for this woman because his subjects would not allow him to marry a twice divorced American woman. And he famously said on the radio, "I am giving up my throne for the woman I love." And she became the most hated woman of the century because, she took their king away from them. And they basically just trotted around the globe for the rest of their lives, going from party to party to party. And they would go to Capri, to Palm Beach, to Samaritz, and they would just live this very silly, pointless life. And she was she was the best dressed woman on the planet for decades and decades and decades. And she wore the biggest jewels and the best outfits and everything. And Elsa Maxwell once asked her why she was so well dressed. And she said, the king gave up his throne for me. The least I can do is be well dressed for him. Which I love. I think that's the funniest thing ever. And she was very famously a bitch on wheels. And there are all sorts of stories about her. Every morning she had that money ironed so that it would be nice and crisp. She had the servants iron her money.
Iron my cash.
Iron the cash. And when the newspapers came in the morning, she would have them laminated. The servants had to laminate the newspapers so that the ink would not stain the Duke's hands. Okay. And another thing, this is my favorite. She kept a little pad of paper and a gold pen next to her at the table for every meal and every dinner party. And she would write down everything the servants did wrong. And then she would have them afterwards. She would gather the servants together and tell them and it would be like the wine glass was 3/4 of an inch too close to the plate, and if you do it again, you'll be fired. And by God, the peas and the carrots go below the game hen, and if I had the peas to the left and the carrots to the right, and the footman will be fired if I have to tell him one more time. This sort of nonsense.
Why are you so fascinated by her?
Yeah, aren't you turned off by the whole Nazi sympathizer thing? Like that? That's always kind of where I draw the line with them. I'm like, yeah, you guys are fun and frivolous and rich, but you're kind of assholes to me.
Terrible, terrible assholes. And he is just the silliest, most infantile, useless person on the planet. And yet there's a new thing in this book that fascinated me, because they said that every morning she had the servants go around and spray Diarissimo perfume on the flower vases because she didn't think the flowers smelled good enough on their own. Like, she didn't think that nature did a good enough job, so they had to be sprayed with Diarissimo perfume, which is it's those little tiny things.
Did she come from money herself?
No. Well, her family was money, but she was the poor relation of money, and so her whole life she had to beg her aunt to buy her a dress to wear to the cotillion. She had to bear She never had enough. and so she was trying to do this. But anyway, this is the first book I've ever read about her that is trying to repaint her, recast her in a good light, and trying to rehabilitate her image, which is impossible. But you have all these horrible
it doesn't
people.
sound good.
You have all these horrible people who are coming forward, like Diana Mosley. I don't know if you know Diana Mosley.
Isn't she one of the Mosley family, the fabulous fascist guy?
The Mitfords. Yes, she was a Mitford. And then she married Sir Oswald Mosley, who was the leader of the fascist party, in
so
England.
They're all Trumps.
So you have this woman who is like the leader of the fascist party coming forward to defend the Duchess. And it, like, Nikki Halsam. Do you know Nikki Fenton?
Yeah.
Okay. Nikki has a lot to say about how wonderful the Duchess was and how she was so witty and so adorable at dinner parties and this, that. And Nikki Halsam is always like, I was with the Noriegas and the Emperor. We were antiquing in Nantucket with Papa Doc Duvalier. And so you really can't take any of these people, but it's just, this book is absolutely hysterical. And if you have any interest in the Duke or Duchess, it's a fun read.
It sounds
dishy. Just tell us the name of the book and then we'll go on.
It's called The American Duchess, The Real Wallis Simpson.
All right. That's number 6. Number 5.
Number 5.
I really should have carried on from talking about Jean Smart and Jennifer Coolidge, because this is 9 Perfect Strangers. Now, I totally which is on Hulu. It's a limited drama series on Hulu based on the book by Leanne Moriarty. And the significance of her is that she was also the person who wrote Pretty Little Liars.
Wait,
I saw that.
Pretty Little Liars. No, wait, hold on. Pretty Little Liars is the teen series. Pretty Little Lies. Big Little Lies is the one you're thinking of.
Oh, okay. I've got it all muddled up.
Sorry.
As usual, I got all completely confused. But anyway, so it's Nicole Kidman, and it's really kind of interesting. It's the plot premise is 9 perfect strangers are going to a sort of get well, transformational, new agey retreat that is run by a mad Russian woman called Masha, which is played by Nicole Kidman. And, Nicole Kidman, everyone's been laughing and joking about the fact that she can't move her face anymore. And, so the acting gets done by the long coats she's wearing or other things. But her looking, it's so great. They've done her eyebrows. It's sort of diagonal. It's not a unibrow, but they sort of almost meet. And they've given her slightly buck teeth. So when she smiles, and she looks like a madwoman. And she's got this Russian accent and long, stringy blonde hair. And it's kind of genius.
She's trick-or-treating. It sounds like she's trick-or-treating.
She really
like,
is.
Ding dong, Nicole, who are you? I'm a Russian
and obligingly, exactly. And obligingly, Nicole has been playing this part for 5 months. She was method acting her ass off and wouldn't even say hello to her kids. She was Masha, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And
she ate cold fish for every single meal.
Everyone completely crazy. So anyway,
he and Jared Leto are the great method actors of our day.
And it's just so there's these 9 people at Nicole Kidman's weird new agey retreat, and needless to say, it's gothic and it's horror and it's going to go all sorts of places, and it's a great premise. Years ago, we actually developed a reality series around a group therapy called Core Energetics, and it was very much like this, that they would take all the applicants and they would cast them and create a perfect mix of characters and then put them together in this 10-day 2-week retreat where all your secrets get told and people freak out and have breakdowns.
Ooh.
So it's a great I'm really in it. There's 3 episodes up right now, and I've watched 2 of them.
Well,
and,
I looked up the cast. The cast is really exciting.
I was going to say Melissa McCarthy is one of my favorite actresses on the planet. Is she fun?
She's anytime she appears, it's hilarious.
Oh,
she's an authoress of novels who's just been dropped by her agent literally as she arrived at the Tranquillum, which is the name of the retreat.
I love it.
Who else is in it?
We have Michael Shannon, who I love.
Yeah.
Luke Evans.
I love Luke Evans. No, I hate Luke Evans. I'm sorry.
Samara Weaving, and Manny Jacinto, who was the Filipino kid from The Good Place.
Oh,
who is
she's
a
so good.
wonderful
She's
He's
so good.
gorgeous. Regina Hall, who I loved in Girls Trip, and Bobby Cannavale. Isabel,
I love Bobby Cannavale.
Isabel
he was
Cornish.
married to a good friend of mine.
Bobby Cannavale?
Yeah, Jenny Lumet. He was married to Jenny. You remember Jenny?
Yeah.
Alec.
He's so hot.
All right, that's 9 Perfect Strangers
9
streaming
Perfect
on Hulu.
Strangers. I like the sound of that.
Time to take another break. Just before we go, I got to tell you, Drag Tot Season 2 is on Wow Presents Plus worldwide. Your favorite RuPaul's Drag Race queens, Bianca Del Rio, Valentina, Latrice Royale, Monet Exchange, Heidi and Closet, Jimbo, and more. So get Wow Presents Plus at wowpresentsplus.com.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton, joined by James St. James, and sitting in for Tom Campbell, Alec Mapa.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Alec, share with us your number 4.
Number 4.
Made you go
My
wild.
number 4 is okay. So one of these, I just started watching a show on the Netflix, brand new cherry flavor.
What?
And it is it's a gothic kind of horror show that stars Catherine Keener as a witch living in Hollywood in the 90s.
I love it.
And there's a young filmmaker who gets her film stolen from her by an executive, and she uses Catherine Keener to put a curse on this person. So it's all really witchy and everything, and Catherine Keener is just great in it. I really like that show. And the other thing that I watched, and listen, I have no standards whatsoever. So I watched on HBO, just because it was there suggested on the homepage, FBoy Island. The F stands for
Did it deliver on the F-boy feeling?
They did. And so what I did was I watched the first episode and I said, I'm not going to last 10 episodes of this. I'm not going to last 5. So I skipped ahead to the finale. And what I learned is the fuckboy is like just basically a Lothario who is just a no good Nick. He's just a hot guy who's out to fuck over women. And the premise is there's 12 nice guys and 12 fuckboys on the island. There's 24. And at the very end, she has to pick one of them between, it narrows down to 2 per girl. Like there's 3 girls. And they have to choose between the nice guy or the fuckboy. And the fuckboy, if he wins the hand of the girl, has a choice between 1, splitting the money with her, $100,000, or taking the whole $100,000 and breaking up.
And wait, do they choose the fuckboys? Do they all choose the fuckboys?
I can't give it away, but what becomes clear is that these women are being given the choice between the nice guy who is stable, who is going to be loving and kind of dull, and the fuckboy who's really exciting and a shitty person.
I hate to hear it. I hate to set that.
No, exactly. Is that even a choice?
No, but it
kind
is
of like,
you know how people are, and people will choose the fuckboy every damn time.
Yeah, but see, the fuckboy in the first episode are trying to appear as if they are the nice guys because they don't know yet. So it's all about the deception.
So can you tell your fuckboys from your nice boys if the fuckboys are trying to pretending to be the nice boys? Oh, it's a game within a game, I suppose.
A game within a game.
Is it really? Because what is a fuckboy anyway? Like really? Like are they more hot than regular guys? And are they just
inherently hot? I mean, and they're inherently exciting, and they're gonna they're a challenge for women. They're a challenge for men. You know, I mean, like how many fuckboys do we know in the gay scene?
Yeah. And what the women are attracted to on the show is not just the fuckboy, but the possibility of reforming a fuckboy. I'm the one who changed him. I'm the one who tamed him. Blah diddy blue blue blue.
Blake, it says guys who just want to fuck and not be in a relationship are fuckboys, according to
so
Blake.
Gay.
Yeah. I would say that we probably have more fuckboys in the gay. Well, I don't even know about that. I think there's just an epidemic of fuckboyery.
The only reason I started watching it is the guys are super hot. All the guys on it are really, really hot.
And they're all straight though, so that's a little.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Okay.
Nobody's perfect.
Number 3, James.
Number 3.
Well, I just very quickly want to talk about the debacle that has been the search for the new Jeopardy host. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to this.
Barely. I know that it was Mayim Bialik and some other guy, but he's been exposed as saying misogynist things on a podcast.
Yes.
Right?
His name is Mike Richards. And what happened is they set up this whole thing where they were going to try out all these hundreds of people, and then they were going to have a rotating guest host for through 2 or 3 months, and people were going to come through and try out for the gig, and then the audience was going to vote on who they wanted. And when it came down to it, all these fabulous people, LeVar Burton and
Katie Couric,
Savannah Guthrie, Ken Jennings, Robin Roberts,
the Duchess of Windsor.
The Duchess of Windsor, yes. All these people, Nikki Haslam,
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman, Melissa McCarthy,
Jean Smart,
Jennifer Coolidge, everybody on the planet.
Mare.
But when it came down to it, they chose the producer of the show, this white man who is 36 years old, who had the inside track all along, he was going to give himself the job no matter what. And the whole thing left such a terrible taste in everybody's mouth. People are boycotting left and right. He's the least charismatic of everybody, but because he's the producer, he gets to say, I think I win, I know. So it's really disgusting. And people are saying that they won't watch the show anymore after watching for 50 years, with their grandmother and father, and blah, blah, blah. They've given up on the show. And then it just came out this week that he had done all this podcast a few years ago in which he was very misogynistic, and he was saying all sorts of horrible things about women, and he was very racist and homophobic, and all this is coming out, and I guarantee he's not going to last. He's supposed to start this week, and I doubt he's going to last.
He's going to have to fire himself.
Yes, and then it'll hopefully go to Mayim Bialik and LeVar Burton, who probably deserve it.
I heard LeVar Burton was great.
Yeah, and
really
people have been rooting for him because he has such a people love him so much, and it was just such a no-brainer. So anyway, that I just wanted to quickly talk.
That's Jeopardy, right?
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy is in Jeopardy.
Jeopardy.
I love Jeopardy. I love that show.
I know, it's such a great show.
Right. Moving on to number 2.
Number 2.
Have you heard of Bearsun? Bearsun.
Oh, not until this morning when you showed me the picture.
Bearsun is 33-year-old Jesse Larios, and he is walking from Los Angeles to New York. He's raising money for cancer, mental health, autism, the environment, disabled community. But he's doing it in a giant bear costume. And I have a weakness for plushies and furries. And he's just this gorgeous big brown bear. And it's a 30-pound costume. And he's 50 days out on his journey, walking across the United States.
Does he get to take it off if he gets hot?
Well, right. He was in Arizona. Jeez.
That's got to stink. That's got to smell. That costume has to breathe. Yeah,
he has washed it a few times. It weighs 30 pounds. 30 pounds. And,
I have a feeling he's going to collapse any minute.
When I first started at World of Wonder, remember I dressed in a bear suit and went and delivered pitches to people?
That's right.
Well, I remember you were Bear Brittany too. You were also Brittany as a bear. We've had you do some very
well. That bear suit, I can contest. It was very hot. It was like a summer day, so.
Yes, and of course in the rain, he's walking in the rain. I mean, it adds 20 pounds. But
how far has he gotten?
Well, he's 50 days out, and he's currently in the Navajo Nation, and he's been welcomed there with open arms. People are giving him encouragement. They're walking with him. They're giving him food, water, shelter, money. It's just a lovely, heartwarming thing to see. And
well, it's very what was the run?
Forest.
Run, Forest, run. Yes. I'm sorry. I had a brain fart right there.
Well, so and the bear suit is really cute. Now, when you say you have a softness for plushies, is that like a sexual thing, or is it
no,
just like
Alec, it is not.
Okay.
It is not.
Because,
it's not.
But
not that you're judging me. I know.
You're on the air if it was, is my question.
I would say if
talking
it was.
about it for 20 years, I have to believe there is some little truth in there somewhere, whether you admit it or not.
The
Stop.
lady
You're giving me a hard on. Stop.
Yeah.
No, it's like, I think it's like a security thing. I just think they're really cute and cuddly. I mean, it's like mascots at Disney World. I mean, I don't want to like jump on them and hump them.
But
They
you know
make
what?
me think
Let's talk about that for a second, because I think that happens. The pathology of it, I think, is so fascinating, because I think we have nerve endings.
pathology.
We have nerve endings all over our body, and I can imagine like a little kid rubbing up against a stuffed toy, and then that somehow being eroticized in your brain and seeking that out later.
Alec, for crying out loud.
Lowering the tone here. Like, look, okay, weighted blankets are a thing, right? When you if you had a weighted blanket,
if you get off on your weighted blanket, that is it for me. I am hanging up.
Fenton, just admit it. You're a furry. It turns you on. You are as God made you. There's no shame or there's nothing wrong with it.
These mascots, with these Disney characters, it's like these are who we turn to in complicated, difficult times. It's like
I turn to my therapist and medication.
But I am turned on by a lot. There are a lot of cartoon characters. You know, I've told you that Fred from Scooby-Doo was my first boyfriend, and you know,
Aquaman.
What?
Aquaman.
Aquaman was definitely
Tarzan.
So I mean, I understand weird erotic little quirks.
Snagglepuss.
But I'm not going to give you weighted blankets. You are not allowed to be turned on.
Tarzan is a muscly man in a loincloth swinging from the trees. It's different to a big, lovely bear character that you go.
You know what? Yeah. I love weird. I mean, I'm weirder than both of you because my first TV crushes were on Lurch and
I
Herman
can
Munster.
see that.
Herman
Wait,
Munster.
who was the second one?
Herman Munster, because he was a big gay guy. He was so funny, had that great laugh, and I just thought Fred Gwynn was so a kid.
Well, I imagine if you get both Lurch and Herman naked, you're gonna. There's a lot to swing on.
That's a good time. That's a good time. Yeah.
The places we go.
Yeah.
Let me just say, as we go to break, that RuPaul and BBC Three have revealed the next set of fabulous drag queens for Series 3 of Drag Race UK, which is coming this September. Very soon now.
So excited.
Yep, 12 new queens. Head over to the Wow Report. You can see them all. All right, so we're going to take one last break. And when we come back, we'll reveal the number one thing this week that made us go, wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hey, welcome back to the Wow Report. It's Fenton here with our very special guest, Alec Mapa. Yay!
I was so glad I was here for your outing as a furry. I think it's a historic moment. I said I wasn't going to cry, but it's very moving.
We've always suspected, so it's
causing
not
trouble.
It's okay.
Causing trouble. Stirring it all up is James St. James, who's trying to describe me as a furry sexual. It's not true. And Blake. So what is the number one thing this week?
Number one.
It is a new podcast, Alec, called Night Fever.
New York nightlife legends of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and beyond that I am doing with Randy and Fenton. We have done our first 10 episodes. We're in the middle of editing them furiously as we go. I'm just very quickly, I'm going to name off our guests. The first guest is Diane Brill, forever queen.
Fantastic. Yeah.
The second is Michael Musto, because of course you got to have Michael Musto.
Yeah.
Lisa Edelstein, who was my longtime cohort.
You get a name drop in that one.
I'm going to get to that in one second. Very quickly, we have Moby, we have Irrigation, we have Rudolph, we have Louis Extravaganza, we have Walt Paper, we have Ernie Glam. Who am I forgetting? Anybody?
Joey Arias.
Joey Arias, my God, yes, we've got Joey Arias. And the thing about this show is that it's all your favorite parties, it's all your favorite memories from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and it goes fast and furious, and the names are dropping left and right. The stories are they're so funny, and it's always, I was with, like we were saying, it's like I was with David Bowie and Klaus Nomi, and we were doing coke in the bathroom, and when Jackie O walked in, and it's all sort of like that. It's really fantastic.
Wonderful.
And I want to have a drinking game where every time you don't know a name, you take a drink. Maybe like Anita Sarko, you have to take a drink. You have to take, or maybe every time you know a name, I can't decide. But or if you're a celebrity and you get name checked, you have to take it like 4
Love
drinks.
it.
And Alec, you are in episode 3. You were name checked.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
Lisa.
I was alive. You know, I remember going to NYU and reading the New York Times Magazine article that was about you and Lisa E, as she was known at the time.
Yeah.
And thinking, when do these two have time to go to class?
Well, Lisa and I do have a lot of really fun memories of Ruben and you know, all of that, and we do talk about that. We talk about how we were friends with Adam Sandler, and we had no idea. We were hanging out in his room all the time. We had no idea who it was. So, but it's a lot of it is really fun, and it's just really great to sort of reconnect with all these people. We've been having a wonderful time doing it.
Oh, I can't wait. And that's airing now?
It starts on Monday. We have the preview episode, and then we start with Diane on the 30th, on Monday the 30th.
Fabulous.
It's part of something that's coming out called Jamesapalooza, where we're celebrating James St. James. We're celebrating him on the WoW Report. We're celebrating him on WoW Presents Plus. We're going to have a special carousel of all his transformations.
I mean, it's only been 25 freaking years. So
yeah,
thank you.
You're part of the Jennifer Coolidge Jean Smart Renaissance.
Yeah,
there you go.
Finally, I've been toiling away in that damn basement for 20 years.
But I love it. I mean, because there's so many parties in New York that will only exist in our imagination. I mean, I remember going to a birthday party for Keith Haring at the Palladium.
I remember that one with Madonna. Yeah,
Madonna, and remember they had all these blow up radiant babies. Remember the radiant baby that he drew, and they fell from the ceiling, and it was just like. I remember being like, you know, well, I was wasted, and it's a miracle I remember it at all. But just thinking, who's going to remember this?
Well, exactly, because Rudolph, who owned Palladium, Danceteria, and so many clubs, he says that really the revolution in ideas and culture, it happens in nightclubs, you know, in whorehouses and nightclubs. And so if you don't tell the story, it just gets forgotten. And the amazing thing is that James St. James, extraordinarily fucked up though he was, day in, day out, night in, night out, he seems to have perfect recall of all of it.
It's amazing. And the Palladium's not even there anymore. It's an NYU dorm.
It's so sad. I know.
I don't know if Danceteria, the building, is there.
The building is there, but it doesn't. It's of course.
But how fabulous as an NYU freshman, I would love to live in the Palladium dorm.
Yeah, they do say that you can hear, on many nights you can hear the ghost of Bianca Jagger doing coke in the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Well, and this isn't only a podcast, which you can get wherever you podcast, but you can watch it on WoW Presents Plus.
I love it.
There's a video element.
You talk about area. I love that club. I thought that was so much fun.
Everything, you know, we actually start you know, like Max's Kansas City and all that stuff, and then we go right in through raving and you know, all through the 90s. Everything eventually gets name checked, and there's stories about everything. And when we first decided what to do, we had a list of like 75 people just right off the top of our heads that we had to talk to, you know. And so hopefully we get a season 2 and 3 and people enjoy the show, and then we can have you on, Alec, and we can talk about the radio falling and. I mean, eventually I want to get everybody who was there, you know.
Oh, so exciting. It was so wonderful and colorful, and it was so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, the air sparkled in the 80s, didn't it? I mean, like, it was a different, you know.
Also, it was dangerous, you know. It's like people were dying, you know. It was like New York City was
volcano.
Yeah, and it was just kind of like exactly. There was so much death we were surrounded with, and then the nightlife, all of our passion and color and creativity went into that. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of more beautiful in retrospect than it was at the time. I often think that, you know, when you're living in a special time, you don't know it, you don't sense it, but in retrospect, you know, in a sort of in an internet era where people just don't get together the way that we used to, then it does seem very magical.
I don't know, but I do remember, like you know, I talk about the Williamsburg Bridge Party, and I remember saying at the time, looking, you know, I was probably on ecstasy and hugging, you know, the person next to me, saying, "It's never gonna get better than this. This is the absolute pinnacle of my life." you know. But of course, that was the ecstasy talking. But looking back, it really was one of the greatest times of my life.
Well, James, 30 years from now, you'll look back on this moment today and be like, it was so magical.
It was so magical. I was
speaking on Zoom. Remember Blake? Remember how wonderful Blake was after he's been dead and gone for 20 years? And
we'll remember playing You're on Mute.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Alex. It's been lovely to have you. We're out of time, but bless you, love you, amazing. Have you back anytime. Please come back.
I'd love to. Bye-bye, darlings.
Thank you, James. Thank you, Blake. You can listen to previous episodes on our YouTube channel, Wow Presents. And we'll see you the same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
wow.